Welcome to Red Earth Conversations. I'm Chelsey Curry, the Executive Director of Red Earth. Today, I'm joined by Chickasaw artist Kate Wiley. We'll talk about her creative journey, the process behind her work, and what visitors can look forward to seeing at this year's Red Earth Festival. Red Earth Conversations is made possible through the support of Allied Arts. Their commitment to arts and cultural organizations help us to share Native voices and stories with audiences across Oklahoma and beyond. Additional support is provided by the UPS store number 3331 on North May. Thank you for helping bring Red Earth Conversations to life. We are here today with Kate Wiley, Chickasaw artist, and we're so excited to be able to talk to you and have this opportunity to learn more about your work.
I'm Kate Wiley. I am Chickasaw, and I am from Norman, Far East Norman, Lake Thunderbird area. My husband and I, we have a little farm out there, and we have 3 boys, which keep us very busy. All of it keeps us very busy. And I started doing art maybe about 6 or 7 years ago. Before that, I was a dancer. That was what I did most of my life for my creative outlet. And then about 6 or 7 years ago, I found fluid art, and that's when I started my journey into painting.
Okay. So did you grow up, spend your whole life in Norman?
Let's see. So I grew up in Oklahoma City, and then I moved to Norman after college.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you really enjoyed living in Norman?
Yeah, I like it. I like to live out in the country. I lived in town for a while, and then we moved out to the country about 8 years ago, and I love it. I'll never live in the city again. We've got about 4 acres out there, so it's really nice and quiet.
That sounds really nice, especially with a house full of boys.
Yes, exactly. The house itself is very loud.
So can you talk to me a bit about your dance and where that started and what type of dance?
Yeah, so I've done all types of dance. I started when I was really little with ballet, and then it just kind of merged over the years to jazz and hip hop, and ended up doing belly dance actually for about 10 years, which was really fun. Really kind of self-freeing and expression and lots of sparkly costumes, so that was really fun.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit earlier too that you also danced some buckskin when you were really young
When I was
as
really
well.
young,
So dance
yes.
has been with you a long time.
It's been a long time, yeah.
A lot of different ways, which is cool.
Yes.
And so I've seen some of your imagery where you're dancing more with scarves. Was that part of belly dance?
Yes,
Okay.
that started with the belly dance. We have veils. There's different types of veils. There's just like your straight veil, and then there's fan veils and all sorts of pretty things that you can use as props. And that plays a lot into my artwork, the dance, because of the movement that you see, and the scarves, the veils especially, because they flow so beautifully, you know, when they're up in the air, and they're just making these beautiful, you know, curves and lines and movement that goes like that. And so you see a lot of that in this kind of type thing.
Yeah. When I see your pictures of that, I automatically saw how you took that and put it into this, because it feels like that same type of movement.
Yes.
And so your art form, really when we first met you, because 2023, you were one of our emerging artists for Red Earth. So you were able to come to the festival, showcase your work, and you've been coming ever since then. And I love what you do.
Thank you.
I really saw you start more with just the veil type of artwork, but you've branched out a lot. Before we get to how you've changed over the years, you want to tell people how you create these works?
Sure.
Because it is different from just acrylic painting.
Right. So they are acrylics, but they're fluid acrylics, so they're fully liquid. And they are all painted on wood panel, because it's the only thing that'll hold the weight of the paints. And so it's all abstract, and the way that I do it is I lay down my base color, which is the background color. Typically I like to do black, but every once in a while I'll branch out to a color.
Pop a color.
Yeah, so you put your base color down, and then what I do is I go into this with kind of a basic idea of what I want it to look like, because fluid art is always changing in the middle of what you're doing. You have it's less specific control than painting with a brush, where you know exactly what you want, where this is kind of a process, and I have to work with the paints. So I will lay down kind of the design that I want, and it just looks like lines when you pour your paint out. in your design. And then what I do is I actually use a blow dryer to blow out the paints, which is what gives it this beautiful fanned out look. But for all of these little portions around the edges, I actually blow on those physically to get them to do what I want them to do. But definitely in the process, when I'm in the middle of painting, sometimes something will go somewhere that I didn't think it was going to go, or look some way that I didn't think it would look like. So it's just a complete kind of giving up and giving in process when I'm painting, to just go with the flow, literally.
Yeah, literally, just accept what happens.
I still have artistic control, but it's not as much as you would think. So I just kind of have to go with it, see what the painting wants to do, and then go from there. So then once the painting part is finished, the paint has to cure for about a month to fully dry. And then what I do is I put resin over the top of it, which is what gives it that nice shine, that nice detail, and it just makes everything super, smooth and slick and shiny.
And so it cures for a month with the paint, but then you do the resin. Yes. How long does that take to cure?
So the resin, usually I like it to cure for a couple of weeks. Okay. And then I actually put a coat of wax on it. I put car wax on it.
To make it really shine?
To make it really shine. Give it kind of a protective coat from dust and things like that.
Yeah.
So all in all, it's a 6 to 8 week process for each piece, but I'm usually working on multiple pieces at a time.
Yeah, because while those are drying, you have to have something else to keep you busy.
Yes, exactly.
So you have all these pieces. Where are you working on your art?
So we actually converted our guest room in my home. It's very tiny. It's just enough space for one person. But with the painting and the resin process, there's a lot that can go wrong with it. So I actually have, my husband built me this little plastic room within the room. Okay. It's plastic from floor to ceiling. Nobody goes in and out but me. Air purifier, that type of thing.
Okay, good, because I was going to say that definitely smells when it's resin too.
It does. So. It smells for sure, but gnats love wet paint.
Oh no.
And if I get one in there, they'll fly around and they'll land and they'll do some little zigzags and walk around and completely destroy my painting. And then with the resin, dust and fuzzies and things like that, can fall into the resin and just completely ruin your piece. And
hence why you needed the clean room.
That's why I need the clean room. So I do all of my work in there. All of my prep is in the outside of that.
Have you had any where you just had to scrap the piece altogether because it either didn't go your way, or you've had the bug issue?
Yeah.
Or?
In the beginning, I did for sure, when I didn't have this room. But now this is definitely cut down on the amount of pieces that I lose for that. But what's good about resin too is I usually put at least 3 coats of resin on each painting. So if there gets some fuzzies or something in there, I can just sand it out and put another coat on there. So.
And just accepting that it might not go exactly the way you were thinking, it makes it easy not to just scrap a piece. You just go with the flow.
Go with the flow, yes.
This is really where you started in the art, but now we're seeing a lot more of your photography work. Yes. So you're a photographer taking the pieces and entering those in competition, but then you're also adding it to your paintings as well. So how are you incorporating them like this?
So aside from dance, when I was younger, I also did photography when I was in high school. And so that has kind of come back around. I have started taking more photographs and did enter some into competition. And I thought, I was at a point in my art where I was kind of just doing the same thing, over and over again. And I thought to myself, what can I do to bring another element in? And then one night, really late, it just hit me. I was like, maybe I could combine my photographs with it. I could take a photograph and cut it out, because when you do the resin, it makes everything one layer, basically. So that's what I started to do. And these are my own hands that I photographed. And this is a moonflower that I photographed. And I cut them out, and so I'll do the painting, and then I'll put a coat of resin on, and then I take the photograph, cut it out, and adhere it. And I like to do the metal leafing around it.
So you're doing all that by hand?
Just kind of helps it, stand out a little bit. And like on this one, I did a lot of the metal leafing as well. I've started to bring that into my
where it's actually
pieces.
Coming out.
Yeah, and the glitter's fun. So just bringing some more elements to it. I really have enjoyed combining the photography with it, and I plan to do more of that for sure.
I do really like the photography. It adds another level of composition to your pieces as well. So when you're doing the photograph and then the outlining, are these separate layers of resin, or you do the resin layer and then all of the rest of it on one and then coat?
Yeah, so typically what I like to do is I'll do one layer of resin, and then whatever elements I want to put in there, I'll put on top of that layer.
Okay.
And then I'll resin over all of it together. Especially like the glitter and things like that, you know, they bring a raised portion to the painting.
Yeah.
And I like it all to be very even.
And smooth.
Smooth, so it definitely takes a couple of layers of resin to get at that.
And I feel like I've seen pieces of yours before that in black light
Oh,
had
yes.
some effect as well, which was really cool.
I just started doing that too. My husband and I both love things that glow, you know, like uranium glass and things like that. And I started doing a couple with the fluorescent paint, and they are really fun.
They are.
You know, because they just look like regular paintings, you know, when you look at them, but then you turn the black light on and they're like super bright
Yeah,
and
it
glowing.
just pops.
Yes.
And it's so beautiful.
Yeah. I've always kind of still taken photographs, but it's mostly just been with my phone, but I got the good camera out, you know, I pulled my big girl camera, got it out, and have really been having fun with it, yeah.
Well, that's cool. What has been your favorite thing to photograph? I've noticed a lot more like night photography from you as well.
Yeah, so this flower specifically only blooms at night, and so I had to photograph it at night. So my husband, we're out there getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, and he's holding the spotlight for me, and I'm taking the picture. I really love to take floral photography. It's one of my favorite things to do, is like really, you know, kind of up close so you can really see the details of all the flowers.
That was something that I feel like Georgia O'Keeffe really enjoyed as well, was getting all of the beauty up close with the detail of the flowers. Yeah. Do you have a favorite flower out of all the ones that you photographed?
Definitely this one.
Yeah, okay,
this is my favorite flower ever. They are Datura moonflowers, and they're pretty big. They're like this size or so when they bloom, and they're really beautiful, and they smell really good, and they only bloom at night, but they're extremely deadly. To me, it just speaks about Mother Earth. You know, she is so beautiful, and we can enjoy her so much, but you also have to respect her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So art runs in your family then,
yes.
And do you feel like you were inspired by your father's work as well, and him being an artist?
Definitely. We do polar opposite types of artwork, but definitely it was very interesting growing up in an artist family. You know, our home was filled with art, and I had a great appreciation for it at an early age. And I loved to go spend the day at my dad's studio, you know, and just hang out and watch him work, and it was one of my favorite things.
Do you think being at festival and seeing how all of it worked helped you as well really come out as an artist and understand? Because I think your booth setup is always really beautiful and well thought out.
Yeah.
You think that helped you a lot?
Definitely.
And,
Yes, you know, and it just, the artist's life in general, it's different, you know, because it's very up and down. It's not secure, people would say, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
And it's doing shows and festivals. They take a lot of work, you know, really, to get your paintings together, get your booth set up, everything like that. And it's like, growing up in the artist family, I already had an idea of what that was like, you know, so I kind of knew what to expect. It wasn't totally new to me, you know, so I understand, you know, that the art life can be very up and down, very fluid, and there's a lot of work that goes into it, but it is really rewarding, and I think it's really fun. I remember being at festivals, and I would always steal my dad's artist pin. They had pins, you know, back then. I would always steal his artist pen and wear it around like I was the artist, and now I get my own.
You do?
Yeah.
Let your boys steal it and run around like they're the artist?
Yes, exactly.
Is there a reason that you choose to only show with the native art shows like that?
Honestly, they just take such good care of their artists. You know, I've been to shows before, and a lot of them that were like outdoors, and it's really, I've come to determine it's hard to have my pieces outdoors in uncovered areas because the resin can get scratched, you know, and there's usually dust blowing around in the wind and things like that. So that was kind of just a personal decision to stop doing those shows. They really do. They always draw great crowds and great people who have great hearts and minds and a love for art, you know, and you guys and the Chickasaw Nation, they just take great care of their artists.
Well, I love to hear it.
Yeah.
And I feel so lucky to be able to showcase your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to talk a little bit about being the emerging artist at Red Earth as well, and what that was like, and how it kind of helped your journey?
Yeah, so that was a couple years, I guess, into my art business, and it was one of those kind of breakthrough moments for me, like, I can do this, you know, that I got chosen for that. It meant so much to me because of my past with Red Earth, you know, as a child, and just being able to become a part of that family myself was really unique, and I think it really helped me to start putting in the professionalism in my work, you know, and really focusing on getting everything the best it could be.
That's awesome. Yeah, that confidence to
Yeah.
like, I can do this as the
Yes.
job now.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you work outside of just being an artist too?
Yeah. So,
and a mom.
I don't work your normal jobs though. My husband and we have multiple businesses, small businesses. So I do this, and then my husband and we also have a hot sauce business. So on our land out there, we grow all the chili peppers that we use for our products. So it's over 1,000 plants that we have out there taken care of every year. So we do that, and that is a main part of our income that we do. So I mainly run the business aspect of that and help with festivals. My husband is the one who makes all the products.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and you're very experienced in running all of that.
Yes,
so.
Exactly. It's like that type of lifestyle just fits for me and for him too, but I grew up in that, so very used to it. So
another thing I'd like to talk about is your Chickasaw background and how that has affected your work and just your personal life.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, you know, growing up, I was surrounded by Native art, and I just knew what that looked like. I knew what it felt like. And actually, when I was an adult, I worked for the Chickasaw Nation for a few years, and they do a really cool thing where the employees take classes throughout the year. You can choose any sort. They have all sorts of genres and things that you can take, but I took some of the cultural classes, and so I really got a chance to learn specifically about Chickasaw culture, and that was really interesting to me. But I didn't really learn that until I was an adult, you know?
Okay.
So I've kind of incorporated that, you know, into my life as an adult. And in my artwork, it's mostly abstract, you know, except for these ones that have photography in it, but they're still somewhat abstract. And you would look at that and not say, well, that's Native American art, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like Native American art, what you would think that it would look like. But
your work definitely stands out as something different, especially at those Native art markets.
It's very different. As people will always come by and be like, oh, wow, that's different, you know? But it is, and at first that intimidated me to be so different. But then I accepted it, and I think it's unique to be different in such a way, but still be considered a Native artist because, you know, a lot of my work is inspired by Mother Earth, by the night sky, you know, by the energy that flows through each of us and around us and with the world. And those are concepts, you know, that our ancestors would have been familiar with as well. So that's kind of how I take my culture into what I'm doing.
So when you're at the art markets and you are showcasing your work, all of that, most of the art markets also have the competition aspect as well.
Yeah.
So for your pieces, where are you putting them in the categories? A lot of them will have painting or drawing or mixed media, cultural. So where do you feel like yours fall?
So typically I would always enter painting, but with these I enter them into mixed media. I love the mixed media category just because, you know, it incorporates different things.
And it gives you some more freedom.
And it gives you more freedom, and I feel like you can play a little bit more with that, you know. So I really like the mixed media category for sure. You know, as artists, a lot of times we have to just be seen as one thing, you know, like we do one type of thing, and that's what people expect to see.
And you get recognized that that's your work, because I can always tell what's Kate's work.
Yes, exactly. But as artists, and I bet you every artist can attest to this, you always want to do something different. Like you're always like, ooh, that would be fun.
I could try that.
I want to try that. And sometimes it turns into something and sometimes it doesn't. There's plenty of things that I've tried that didn't turn into anything. So I've definitely, between the paintings, the mixed media, and the photographs, that's kind of my cup of tea. I am solely self-taught by hundreds of hours of YouTube, thousands of hours of trial and error, honestly. And it just started out as little paintings on canvas. And then when I tried to go bigger, that's when I determined that the paint was too heavy for canvases. So that's when I started the wood panel surfaces, and then the resin especially would also make the canvases too heavy. And I just started with resin, I don't know, maybe 6 months to a year after I started the paintings.
Okay.
And it was a mess, like I can't even tell you how messy it was. And it was a lot of learning experience too. I have people come by all the time that are familiar with resin because it's a pain to use.
Yeah.
And to get it looking really good. And people will be like, wow, how did you do that? And I'm like, okay, well, I do this, this, and this, and I've got this room.
And a lot of practice.
And a lot of practice, So, yes, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll always post, if I'm going to be at a market or anything. And if you ever wanted to order anything online, I'm happy to do that. I ship. So my handle is taloa.oka.studio. And Taloa Oka is Chickasaw for singing water. And I chose that for my studio because I love a good rainy day. Those are my favorite types of day. It just gives me peace and joy and calm. And that's what I wanted my art to be for people, to bring people. So that's why I named my studio that.
I love that. And we will make sure to spell that out in the
yes.
comments so that way everybody can look you up as well. But yeah, that's really beautiful because I feel that sense of calmness with yours. Or even in some of them that maybe would be on the more chaotic side, more of that movement of the dance.
Yes.
Especially at least on your Instagram, I've been on there lots.
Yeah.
And seeing your videos of the movement, every time I see you dancing, I immediately see the artwork in it.
That's
so
cool. That's awesome.
yeah, it's very cool. So people should definitely check that out.
Yeah.
What would you tell others who are interested in maybe applying for that emerging artist or starting later in life and wanting to do artwork and felt like maybe they weren't ready for it or it was too late?
Yeah, definitely. I am a big proponent of you don't have to do the same thing for your entire life. You can always come up with something new. You don't have to be a certain age. It doesn't matter if you're younger, if you're older. If you're interested in something, try it. So when I was first interested in this, I had just had my third son. And I showed it to my husband, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I might try this. He was like, you should try it, And I was like, oh, in a couple years, maybe when I have time.
Right, I have a new baby.
Yeah, exactly. And then a couple weeks later, he just brought paints and canvases home and was like, go for it.
Oh.
And I probably would not have done it if he had not done that. That encouragement to just do it. Just try. And, my beginning paintings were not great. It takes
practice.
It takes a lot of practice, but I would encourage anybody who is interested in anything. It doesn't have to be art, just anything that you're interested in. Go for it. We have one life here on this earth, you might as well try it. I love to encourage Indigenous artists who are not traditional like I am to get into the native art markets, because that's what happened to me. I had certain people that encouraged me to get into the markets at first. They were the Chickasaw markets. And I was like, no, I don't belong there, But she was like, no, you should really try this. And it just kind of went from there.
Yeah, because it's native art
it
because
is.
A native person made it,
Exactly.
not because there's a teepee on your canvas.
Exactly,
yes.
exactly. That is exactly right. So I love to encourage people, no matter how different your art is, to get into the native art scene because it is a wonderful community.
Well, I'm thankful that you do that. And I'm so thankful that you had someone in your life to buy those paints and tell you to do it.
Yes.
So for those that don't have that person, you're saying, do it.
Do it.
We're those people. Just do it. Just give it a chance.
Give it a chance.
It's worth it to try. And
just step out and try, And if you discover you don't like it, okay. But if it's something that you like, just remember you have to practice at it and you'll get to where you want to be. you know. This painting specifically, I wanted to talk about for a minute too. So it kind of plays along with that. This one is called She Holds the Universe Within. To me, it depicts that each of us have this greatness, this power, this magic within us. And sometimes we don't always see that and realize how much power we actually have to create and to do whatever it is that we want to do. We just have to do it. And it may not be easy. It may not come easy. You know, there may be obstacles and things like that, but we all have the power to do that.
And it's just magic.
Yeah, it's
I
just
love
magic.
that. Oh. Well, thank you so much, Kate, for coming out and sharing your
Yes,
story
thank you so
today.
much.
And thank you, Allied Arts, for making this possible. We're excited to share your story. And for anybody who's interested in seeing more of Kate's work, talking to her, we will be at the festival August 1st and 2nd. So please come on out. We're excited to showcase her work along with over 100 others.
Mado for listening to Red Earth Conversations. Join us next week as we sit down with Chickasaw Ponca artist Brent Greenwood to discuss all of his various mediums of artwork, his heritage, and as well about the Red Earth Festival. Mado again for listening, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.